With the Olympics all wrapped up, we now finally head to a WTA 1000 event as the Canadian Open is set to go down in Toronto. What's up, everybody? It's John Eric Poli, and I can't wait for this year's Canadian Open. And this is actually the first WTA 1000 event in really a meaningful period of time, so can't wait to see how this is going to play out with this high-stakes tournament here on the line. The only upsetting news, guys, is that we're going to see a few players that aren't going to enter this year's tournament due to the fact that they were just in the Olympic Games. So before we look at the exact entry list for this year's tournament, let's talk about the few players that have not entered, that have pulled out of this year's tournament. We'll get started with the world number one, Iga Swiatek. She's pulling out due to fatigue for participating in the Olympic Games. Of course, Iga went very far in those Olympic Games, claiming the bronze medal for her home country of Poland. That was actually Poland's first ever medal in the sport of tennis. So congratulations to Swiatek on that. Hopefully she gets recovered pretty quickly here, and we'll see her in a tournament sooner rather than later. Also pulling out just due to, again, same thing, real busy schedule and dealing with a little bit of an injury right now is Barbora Krejcikova. Of course, she just won the Wimbledon tournament, then carried that over to the Olympics, had a decent showing. I think a lot of people had a little bit higher hopes for in that tournament, given what she just did at Wimbledon. But again, she's a little banged up right now. She also pulled out of the tournament. Another big name that won't be participating in this year's tournament, again, another Olympic participant, is Jasmine Paolini. Paolini, red hot as of late. She competed for the French Open final, losing to Iga Swiatek, then went to the Wimbledon final where she lost to Krejcikova. Bad showing in the Olympic Games, but that's a lot of tennis in a short period of time. Paolini, another one not entered, taking a little bit of a breather here. And then two quick ones here, guys, just to mention they were also Olympic participants. And one of these is dealing with a bit of we saw her retire in a match. That's Danielle Collins and Maria Sakkari. Both ladies announced that they will not participate in this year's Canadian Open after participating in the Olympic Games. And really quickly, I have one other big name, and a real big name at that has pulled out of this year's tournament. She also did not participate in the Olympic Games due to an illness, and that is Elena Rybakina. Rybakina, one of the best players on tour, won't be participating here. Hopefully, she has a speedy recovery here. She's been dealing with an illness for a little bit now. Hopefully, we'll see Rybakina back on the courts sooner rather than later. All right, all that's gone. Finally, who's playing in this great event? Don't worry, guys. I know you saw a lot of names that aren't. We have a lot of big names still in play. I can't wait to see how this tournament's going to play out. Let's start with the number one seed for this year's tournament, Coco Gauff. Gauff, of course, having a great year so far this year. She made the semifinals at the Australian Open, the semifinals at the French Open. I know there's been a few rough spots for Gauff along the course of the way here. We did just see that little breakdown there in the Olympic Games, but overall, Gauff, one of the favorites on tour. She's having a very good year. She is going to be the number one overall seed for this year's Canadian Open there in Toronto. Also joining her in the tournament after we've seen her banged up recently. She had to pull out of Wimbledon. Great to see her back on the courts now is Aryna Sabalenka. Sabalenka can be the number two seed for this year's tournament. Sabalenka, you guys know, the power game to give anybody problems, but the big question with her is how's that shoulder healing up? Hopefully it heals up all right, because if Sabalenka is healthy, she's going to be a tough out in any single tournament. Also, guys, last year's champion, Jessica Pegula, she is entered into this year's tournament. Pegula's not having the best 2024, that's for sure here, but big opportunity here in this tournament. So many names out. I think it's a big chance for her, being the defending champ here, to make a deep run in this year's tournament and start getting some momentum towards this U.S. Open. Also joining them as one of the other top seeds is Jelena Ostapenko. Ostapenko, bad showing at the Olympics. Very shocked to see that after she's had a good Wimbledon tournament. So we'll see how that all shapes itself out for Jelena Ostapenko. Also, guys, real quick, going to get through a few other big names here. Let's start with Emma Navarro. Navarro is having a very good 2024. The American looks great as of late. We'll see with all the momentum she's been building this year, see if she can do something in this tournament, in which really is a wide open tournament, in my personal opinion. Also, guys, we talked about Sabalenka's power game. Somebody else that has a very good power game, going to transfer well onto these hard courts, is Madison Keys. Keys did not participate in the Olympic Games, so big opportunity here for Madison Keys. Also, Ons Jabeur did not participate in the Olympics. Jabeur's having a rough 2024. Again, you talk about a tournament that's wide open. This is one. Big opportunity for Ons Jabeur to right some wrongs, make a deep run. Now let's end today, guys, by talking about 2 entries that are very good on the hard courts. Let's first talk about Victoria Azarenka. Azarenka has kind of made some deepish kind of runs into some tournaments this year, but kind of looking for that big spot here on the year. Let's see if Azarenka can capitalize again on what's a wide open tournament. And then, of course, we have Naomi Osaka. Osaka is going to be a wild card, guys. That's the one thing here. She is a wild card. We'll see what she could do. Remember, she has 2 U.S. Open titles under her belt. She also has 2 Australian Open titles under her belt. She now has had about enough tennis under her belt here in 2024. It's been rough at some moments, which we expected, returning after having a baby. But this is kind of this time where she should start to shine. Let's see if Osaka could build some momentum towards this U.S. Open. So many people will be keeping their eyes on Naomi Osaka during this hard court season. So that was your entry list for this year's Canadian Open. Again, going to be a fun WTA 1000 event. Like I said, throughout the course of this whole entire video, it is a wide open tournament. Let's see who capitalizes on it. So many big names out of the tournament, which is unfortunate, and hopefully we get those guys back on the courts sooner rather than later. So let's see how it all plays out here in Toronto. It's going to be a fun tournament. Can't wait to see how it all goes down.